Into an open sleigh, crack your tape for me. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Pleasant good night. Yes. We're coming on now. So call back. Okay. Right.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come. o'clock by night, they see a brand new shining star. They hear a choir sing their song, and music seems to come from afar. Hark now, hear the angels sing, the King was born today, and man will live forevermore because of Christmas Day. Now Joseph and his wife Mary came to Bethlehem that night. They found no place to bear a child. Now the single room was inside. Buy down the final little milk, ain't stable all for long. And in the
exactly what I have in mind. I want a piece of pork, I want a piece of pork, I want a piece of pork for me Christmas. I don't want no money cook, you could keep the color loose. I want a piece of pork for me Christmas. I want a piece of pork, I want a piece of pork, I want a piece of pork for me Christmas. I don't want no money cook, you could keep the color loose. I want a piece of pork for me Christmas.
Yes, indeed, a pleasant good night to all and some of course you thought it would come on tonight. No. I promise cannot be comfortable. And indeed, the corridor transformation does not see any one of you out there as fools, and therefore there can be no comfort. What we have to do, of course, is deliver. And of course, we may be tardy at times. There may be some technical problem, but of course, we are going to deliver. And of course, tonight is no exception. But let me say up front as well, that whilst we have, of course, gone past what I consider to be the critical part of Christmas, and as we head towards, of course, a New Year's, and a very, what I consider to be a whole year that, of course, will demonstrate the grit, the determination, the efforts of the people of Trinidad and Tobago to preserve our democracy and to, of course, get rid of those who are an impediment or who are clearly believe that they can arrogate onto themselves the situation of no commitment to or that they are above the law. In other words, they infringe the rule of law willy-nilly, helter-skelter, and without, they believe, consequences. Well, we say, as a democratic society, as a people, that is not just arbitrary, that is not only, of course, living in a fool's paradise, but no way will any self-respecting, of course, society countenance or support that kind of arbitrary, dictatorial, and of course autocratic, and of course evil abuse of democracy. Have a wonderful program as we, of course, continue with tonight's exercise.
I put in me on the early cause I don't want to get it wrong. When I drink in my bubbles, I want coffee from my mouth. You could bring wine by the keg, you could bring rum by the case. All that will go to waste once I get my big legs. I want a piece of pork, I want a piece of pork, I want
prescribed aid. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. Anybody telling the population that
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
the dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. Anybody
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
the dreaded property tax.
Yes, indeed. That is what democracy is. That is the voice and the statement back in 1962 when Trinidad and Tobago became an independent country. The founding father, if you would want to call it, because of course we have no choice. He was the man in the hot seat at the time, so to speak, and therefore the first Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. But his words in terms of the instructions and what is required as a democracy as defined is crucial, and therefore we must pay attention. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Welcome. No. Oh boy.
Nico saya tadi karma ada come back all these youngsters they kill out other people so they come back to them, but innocent people in their hotel are there too, boy. That is the majority involved, and look, up to now nobody they catch for that, and the police know exactly who doing all these wicked crimes. So then she has the gang too, the police gang. They don't only protect themselves and the parliamentarians who put them in there, but they ain't gonna help the public. All of these things taking place in broad daylight, and you go tell me individuals can get it or wronged up or something like that. I tell you, this is not democracy, no, it's a hypocrisy. A hypocrisy we live in. A hypocrite government we live in under this foolish man called Hines. He don't know elbow for me, damn uncle. That's what I waste our time. And this in because see, Ola coming out just now, there was some balance. Every time such a 6 song, you didn't hit 600, but I tell you, I 70 years, because people listen today, and then dead. You know, so we go song them. We go song them, we go find them months later, we go song them. They're all in forest, they're all in precipice, they're all in some hilltop. Listen right now, they're dead, they can live on them. We don't think that 150 something people missing. I could at least half of them will be dead. So you see the government? This government is wicked. I am mighty talking this morning about giving the sales or everything. Yeah, the sales are everything gone down. Nobody buying nothing. Nobody ain't buying nothing. And when it goes over to 2024, it will be the worst year ever. I'm telling people, whatsoever happening this year, we're taking it into the next year. All these gun violence and all these other crimes that are taking place here now, it's going to be maximum when next year comes. Because it is a normal thing for people to go and drive up and see people anywhere they want. Like traffic lights, in crowd, in bar, in the home, anywhere you can get the matrix. And this government and this time, this government, they can't protect and help nobody. You hear the former Prime Minister saying, oh, democracy part and parcel of protecting the people. Protecting who people? Protecting themselves. The parliamentarians ain't protecting themselves. They ain't protecting the public. Because who put them there? Because when it comes to voting time, they bandwagon of people they come and vote for them. But if people want to put gold electors and put back in this week time government, they're selling the current soul to the devil. How about the
Listen, thank you. Thank you very much, of course. And you made a very salient, should I say, remark there as the opening salvo to, of course, clearly a window to 2024. And, of course, marking, of course, a bizarre end to 2023. So you are quite right. This government doesn't know, not just the Minister of National Security, but the entire government doesn't know its arm from its elbow. It doesn't, in other words, it is in a state of bewilderment and has given up. It's just that they are so entangled and mired in criminal conduct at the level of the government and what they have done, blatant and dogmatic and without a care for whether or not the country goes to hell in a gasoline-soaked paper bag. They continue, of course, on this, what I consider to be inevitable direction towards prison and, of course, blue lights and silver bracelets. It is clear. And so, of course, the episode that took place in and around Port of Spain today is a mere reflection of the lawlessness of this government and the replication, or should I say, the cloning of similar actions by those who are engaged in this gang warfare and, of course, are determined to engage in blue-collar crime as the government engaged in white-collar crime. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. I see we're back on stream.
Smith.
Yes.
Mr.
Go ahead.
Press Galanye.
Yes,
Listen,
hey, boy.
I mean, it ain't so bizarre. The ending of the year ain't so bizarre because we know on that PNM mad thing that's happened coming down to the end of the year, if it's not shooting all in tongue and all kind of thing. And I just want to say this, Mr. Smith, while we're on the topic of crime and thing.
Yes.
I just want to know if you think that with Dr. Rowley's recent remarks and thing about wanting to make a headway into
Wanted to, I didn't hear that last part. I didn't hear that last part. Repeat it.
You seen that Dr. Rowley would like to go back in Tobago. You think he would use crime? You think he will use crime as a case against Fali and them in the next general election? Because we see crime running away in Tobago.
Well, the thing about it is that, you see, these fellas, these dictators...
I'm listening off here, Mr. Smith. I'm listening off here. Right?
No problem. Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead. These dictators, these wannabe, these... somebody call him a masochist. I think is someone on the program, a masochist. Because these sick people don't put anything beyond them. They are the authors. They are the genesis. They are the alpha of all of the evil that is taking place in the country. And I say country here with respect to our twin island republic. I'm talking about Trinidad and Tobago. It was not by accident, and I take it very seriously when Jack Warner said, even though he was, of course, a bit hilarious and making, of course, some kind of ludicrous, making it sound ludicrous. But the reality is that Rowley really thinks that he is in charge of Trinidad and Tobago, when in fact he has lost Tobago, and he, of course, is on the brink of being, of course, expelled from Trinidad, and therefore the only thing he could hold on to is the and. Trinidad and, he hold on to the and he has to be settled somewhere in the Bocas, and I preferably over the Bocas. So if he could put some rocks on a cloud and live there. To answer your question directly, whether or not he is prepared to go there and, of course, blame the crime situation on Fali, no doubt he will do it. He has nothing else to hang on to. But he will also have to explain, if Fali is responsible for Tobago, then he will have to explain why so much crime in Trinidad, which, of course, is triple, double, quadruple, as the case may be. You see, his ass is grass. He has no excuses at all. And these days, of course, he has now, of course, invoked the watchwords of the country. He has invoked the watchwords of the country. Discipline, tolerance. And saying now, so he's no longer on crime is a what? Is a public health crisis for Trinidad and Tobago. He is now saying that the lack of discipline, tolerance, and production, but he singled out, of course, a lack of tolerance as the new, should I say, creature, the new invention to excuse away what really is incompetence, impotence, and the inability to manage the affairs of the country, not just on the question of crime, but on the question of the economy, on the question of course, motivating and inciting the creativity and the want to live because they are human beings. Imagine in Laventille and environs, young people are saying to live up to 25 years is to live to a rightful old age. That is unheard of. Unheard of. Because the life expectancy is so short in these communities. And those who, whether they voluntarily engage or they inadvertently or they reluctantly engage, the fact of the matter is, as a young person, based on where you live, you could die for that. And within a particular community, based on which street you live on, you excuse me, you could die for that. And it's even worse, depending on what side of the same street that you live on, you could die for that. And don't tell me I know what I'm talking about, because right on Nelson Street, that is the case. North versus South Nelson Street. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night again, Lennox. The caller who called us now and asked about crime of Tobago.
Yes.
Let me tell him something. I want to ask you, you ever get cancer here? You know what has happened to cancer when you treat it? What has happened to it, Lennox?
Spread.
It is spread.
Yes, yes.
That is exactly what happening here in Tobago now. The cancer spread from Trinidad and gone to Tobago. These gangs, they're migrating over there and they're opening up the different pockets of gangsterism over there. So that's why you have war going on over there, just like in Trinidad. So there is nothing stranger from the truth. It's Fali encouraging that. Fali encouraging fellas to come across there. Then fellas come like that 2 night, set up the operation, and now they're fighting for proof over there, just like how they're fighting in Trinidad. So I ain't blaming Fali for that. The PNM go on to do that because they're damn myopic and stupid. That is the way they see things. Them is the cause that all the crime will be taking place. Because if you have cross migration like that, that means everything's spreading. And Tobago, the thing they have this year, they better take that and put it and frame it, because by next year it might double or triple. With these fellas going, them on a killing spree and them killing Tom, Dick, Harryval and the little dog too. You understand? They have no regard for nobody, big guns. So, Tobago, I ain't blaming all you. Is the PNM responsible for that? Forced migration are criminals. All the level.
Thank you very much. Well, of course, the answer I'm sure the caller would have had, because it's clearly a rhetorical question where the answer is so obvious, is so transparent, is so conspicuous that it really requires limited explanation and or verbalization. But the fact of the matter is that you are right. It has mushroomed, my friend, into Tobago from Trinidad, and therefore to blame Farley, I don't think the people of Tobago are so naive. Rowley can go there and say what he wants. He has lost those 2 seats. And as I've often said, when the elections bell and the returns of the ballot boxes and the counting of the votes would have been completed, it must be on this occasion that the constituency of Diego Martin West be declared for whosoever is the opponent or opposition to Rowley, because he is simply toxic, he is simply evil, he is simply dunderheaded, he is simply wicked, he is simply rock-headed, he is simply callous, he is simply incompetent, and therefore from the first go, and while of course I agree that Manning should be blamed for that level of albatross, that level of evil, that level of wickedness, that level of vindictiveness, and the abuse of office and government that he, I won't say bequeathed, but deposited on Trinidad and Tobago. And if Tobagonians rejected him, then Trinidad has no choice. Otherwise, they will be, of course, doing a disservice not only to the current generation, but to the future generations and the generation that is, of course, inching towards 18 and therefore the age of their franchise, or the age of maturity, and therefore to take responsibility for Trinidad and Tobago on both islands. And therefore Rowley and the PNM clearly are the ones that are standing in the gate, that the ones that are the impediment, they are the hurdle, they are the destructive force, they are the toxicity, they are the poison that, of course, getting rid of will certainly, of course, make Trinidad and Tobago a better and a more hospitable environment in which to live, do business, and, of course, to advance the cause of Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore our democracy and economy. Let us not waste time with that. So the question was a rhetorical one. But it is not by accident, therefore, I thought I would, of course, reflect on the history, because we must know our past. And if Eric Williams said that democracy includes, even though it is significant, one man, one vote, and you have, of course, a fella who comes as the seventh prime minister, in this country, and decided, of course, to dismantle, to destroy, to render null and void and of no effect that fundamental principle. We, the people, have a duty and responsibility to let them fellas know. And when, of course, the appropriate time comes, having regard to the evil and their culpability, they cannot obfuscate any of the evils that they would have, of course, perpetrated on the people in, of course, pursuance of self-aggrandizement and avarice and the decimation and the destruction and the thieving and raiding, and, of course, as pirating our not only our democracy, but the resources of the country, including, of course, physical as well as financial. And therefore, when that time comes, as it must, we know what we have to do. And therefore, as I was saying, 2025 will be a long, hot, extra hot, long, hot 12 months. A long, hot 12 months if he lasts that long. If he lasts that long. Somebody asked today and suggested today that I was on Charlotte Street today, and the person said the way we talking is an early election, but with this wily fella, his preference is that he will stay there. His preference is that he will resist all those who are giving him good advice to get the hell out and preserve our democracy. But he is that kind of what I consider be dogmatic and bombastic and bold-faced individual. Nobody knew him in Trinidad and Tobago. His first election in Tobago on behalf of the PNM, he lost. So he is not a success story. He is attempting, of course, to promote himself as a success story. The man is a total and absolute, of course, individual that has an inferiority complex, but will project that he is what all of us know he is not. And therefore, knowing him as we know, we must take action. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Mr. Smith and all the listeners on the live, Facebook and YouTube.
Same to you and
Welcome
yours.
to all the new people. Pardon?
I say same to you and yours.
Yeah, same to you and yours. Yeah, as well, yeah. Yeah, so good night to all the people on Facebook and YouTube and all the new people that coming in. Welcome. Yes, Mr. Smith. Now we're on the topic of crime,
Yes.
and I only want to call listening, but when we look at this whole thing, when they had COVID, they had the borders open, and the Venezuelans were coming in. A lot of guns and things were exchanged for food and different things, right? And certain people bring them in and have them housing them and these things. Nobody then take in consideration that we'll have this sort of crime in the country. Rowley really didn't care because he left it open. He don't want the police and the soldiers and the court to do their job. Because when the police come in and they're saying, well, let me make peace, certain things, he will say, oh, why would you say that? You don't care about your citizens, you don't care about the youth and them outside here, you don't care about anybody. And then these PNM people will go, and whenever they're having any nonsense, they go, he says some shit. Because when I listen to things that you're playing, and it doesn't make no sense, but they're just clapping because they want to clap, and yay, and all kind of nonsense. And then when you look, they have to be burying their sons, grandchildren, and all these kind of things. Look at Facebook and find two women in some place in some house in Tobago, right? Was Tobago. Why we have so much killing? Is this a sacrifice that he doing, that he just letting people blood run? I don't know because they're doing a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, well, that's a good question to ask at this time, having regard to all of the circumstances, and of course, some of which are right, almost immediate, and but recently exposed as well. Any other?
Yeah, they're exposing. They're just killing out their own. I mean, you could do something about it. He traveling, he going all over the place. You know how much people that we couldn't help for this Christmas here, besides not having a vehicle, but we couldn't help them because we didn't have enough to share. I feel very hurt. I didn't celebrate Christmas. I couldn't sit down and say, well, I go and bake and I go and this and I go and that. Well, I know it's people around me hungry as well. Or how can I feel as a mother looking at other children can't eat and this kind of thing? This was total nonsense. Total nonsense. People wasn't buying anything. People wasn't doing anything. People, when you look around, places might have light. That place, people who up a Christmas tree ain't do nothing, like myself, nothing. They simply couldn't do it. Some of them cry because they couldn't even get a chair and a toy and all this kind of thing. It was hurtful. This Christmas was hurtful. I don't know what will happen next year. Just we hoping that things will get better, although we know it won't be so good next year. Then he's so wicked. You're bringing property tax. You're putting this on poor people. People not opening their eyes to see what's happening, but all they're putting all themselves down a precipice, boy. All they need to wake up. Forget about party, study all the children's future, because at the end of the day, all the children is the future. And if all they keep on doing all they're doing, we will not have a future. All the children, all these youth and them will die. They will die. We need to stand up and try to save our children. What is wrong with all that? I doesn't even want my children to go nowhere, but I know I can't protect them all the time. They're getting older and they need to go about and do the things for themselves. But I personally just be scared to have my children outside there. I don't even go anywhere. You understand? So people, let me start doing something for our country. Let us start coming out. If we have to march, whatever it is. I'm fed up with this marching thing and all these things, but we have to do something. But we say, come out, nobody ain't coming out. All they need to come out. Please. This year, let me make a change. Let me be bold. Let me start studying people. Where people had to say the negativity, we do at this year. Let me try and do something for ourselves, our children, and the generations to come. Right? Have a wonderful night. And thanks to everybody who helped me with my drive. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And of course, I I'm a more pragmatic individual, so I would have had to look at the circumstances of the country, led and orchestrated, nurtured, and of course, created by Rowley and his administration, because clearly you can't extract blood from stone. Dr. Rowley and his government engaged in an economic philosophy, an economic practice that speaks to, of course, emasculation, speak to stifling the economy. In fact, there is an economic term for it. It is called fiscal consolidation. So he engaged in a political strategy, or should I say an economic strategy of fiscal consolidation. What does that mean? It means that what he proposed and appeared to have effected and enacted was that he was relying on what the country brings in the consolidated fund, taxes and across the board, the quarterly taxes, that he would use that to, of course, pay all of the expenses of the government. But there has been a problem with that in terms of the implementation. You see, that whilst he was talking fiscal consolidation, which will mean that you will have to cut and cut and cut in order to suit the should I say, the income that you have. Something like a mother who, of course, find herself in a situation where daddy, the breadwinner, is bringing in less money because he or she got a pay cut And so instead of buying 2 tins of, let's say, sardine or 2 oranges, they would buy 1 instead in order for the money to reach at minimum some of the basic items, and at the same time not sacrificing nutrition and other things, but there is a substantial, in real terms, a reduction. But that is what Rowley said. In fact, he followed it up, he backed it up before 2015 and after 2015, when it is convenient, of course, when he said that he could do more with less. He could do more with less. That's what he told us. And boy, it turns out now that he has borrowed more money than anybody else. You ever say? I say he has borrowed more money than any other previous administration, whether it be Manning, whether it be Kamala Persad-Bissessar, whether it be Robinson, and whether it be Eric Williams before all of them. That is what he has done. So he chalked up that, and then the $10 billion that he met there in 2015, left by Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC, he then, of course, burned up. He say half of it. He's saying that is about $6 billion there now. Burn up half of it. I say it's about $4 billion. We are closer, of course, to the point where we can be in the hands of the IMF, looking, of course, for fiscal and or economic and or financial support. But let's give him that, because we know he's a consummate and pathological liar. So therefore, but we are going to give him that, because I don't want him to say that I lie on he lie. You understand? I lie on he lie, because that's the kind of fellow he is. When he catch you, because of course you do not have the resources to, of course, investigate, he then says, well, listen, what I say is so, because what we know in government you don't know. And of course, you notice he said that with respect, of course, to he wasn't the one that interfered with the shortlist as far as Gary Griffith's name was to go to the, at least the parliament, through the president, Paula May Weeks. Notice that in the beginning he said not me, and afterwards, when he realized that the UNC was serious and that Paula May Weeks will be on the hot plate, she will be on the hot seat, as they initiated, of course, impeachment proceedings for the first time. Our president was subjected to that in Trinidad and Tobago. He then say, yes, it's me. You see, when he has no choice, that is what he does. So we know him. So anything he says, you have to take it with not just a pinch, not just a barrow, but a truckload of salt, because that is the nature of this viper and this evil man, who, of course, is selling dreams and illusions and pie in the sky, and, of course, promoting himself as some kind of a success story, when, in fact, he's a consummate and unadulterated and abject failure. The man is blight. The man is cursed. And the government itself. So that fiscal consolidation approach have led, of course, to unemployment of a tremendous nature, particularly in the context of coming out of COVID. We have, of course, no investment coming in outside of the oil, gas, and petrochemical industries. We will talk about that so-called dragon gas deal. We'll talk about that in a separate matter. But the fact of the matter is that has occurred. So therefore, the economy has not expanded. Our GDP has not expanded. And therefore, we had a successive contraction of the economy. But yet still, they come with the illusion. But of course, thank God, you feel it. And you are experiencing it. So you know that they're talking hogwash. Finally, you have realized that these fellas are about theatrics and, of course, hogwash talking, and of course, there is not enough toothpaste to clean them fellas' mouth, or a proper size toothbrush to clean them out collectively and individually. That is how stinky they are in terms of their attempts to hoodwink and, of course, gaslight us and to make us believe that somehow they are the best thing since sliced bread. And Dr. Rowley has the audacity, the temerity, the gall, the effrontery, and then the boldfastness from time to time when it suits him, especially if he has some kind of modicum of what he considers to be good news for the PNM, not for the country, for the PNM, or his stewardship as Prime Minister. He then says it's a good thing all you voted in the PNM. Well, if that is the blasted good thing that he is referring to, I would want no part of that. I would want to tell him, go to blasted hell. But let's go straight, of course, to the lines. We give you the priority. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night.
Good night, Mr. Lennox.
Good night to you.
This is the caller from Baltic. I'm about to call from Seedress. What is?
Yes.
It hurt me very much to see after 27 years, I went back to spend a Christmas down there. Your heart will break down. Your heart will break down for what that man do to the people.
Yeah, boy.
Of Seedress. We used to have petrol bringing like private institute bringing like toys and Santa and truck and things. All that is done. That is done. I understand that last fall what we talk about, we didn't see a Christmas in Seedress, and after 27 years I went back down there. It wasn't for my mother and them. Christmas is not Christmas, and I will tell you something, Mr. Lennox. That man night me as start as yet, You see his face looking like the devil, only the horny missing, You hear?
Yes.
It's only a private institute in Seedress yesterday in Fullerton.
I guess you better move away from your speaker. Your speaker giving us a feedback. You're coming across.
You hear me now?
Right, better fit. Yeah, that's right. Move away from the speaker. Go ahead.
It is people on Fullerton Beach in Moody and them organize a big truck with music, Santa, and different characters, and they pass and show the children and them see what is Christmas. Just imagine we had never had water Christmas Day, Boxing Day, right? We didn't even have water, and only going to raise water rate, only going to raise light bill. Hell no. Mr. Lennox, that girl talked to me, and I feel she pain because you know why? I see it for the first time in 27 years in Seedress. It is sad. When the devil ready for that man, we will have to go down on our knees and beg for that man, That man is the ugly soul he have on earth, You hear? The ugly soul he have on earth, But at grace of God, I come up back today. And all thing, and we get a little bit of water last time, but you have to full in bucket, not in tank. It can go up on the tank.
Okay.
And I want to congratulate the Moody family for putting a little light in them children's eyes in Seedress.
Okay.
It was nice. It was very, very nice. So I understand. Me, I see Christmas. Me, I'm lying to tell you. Because when you have water to do anything, how you could see Christmas?
True.
You hear? Mr. Lennox, I'm telling you again, 2024, that man going to be born like Tarzan, You can't go and face it, go talk for what he do, Just imagine, look at the kind of debt in we country we have in. We never had that kind of debt. Blood? You mean you sacrifice the country for power? Are you carrying the money when you're going? Are you carrying anything when you're going? Oh my God, I felt sad and sick yesterday to see in Seedress how it come to. I felt very sad and sick. So I just wanted to tell all the listeners and all the followers and the ground report and Lennox Consumption, have a bright and prosperous new year. We're going to get to fight. We're going to fight it.
No doubt.
Evil cannot win, God.
That's right. That's right.
Evil. The only thing he had to do, just like how we do in 2020 thief the election, he could only thief, right?
Could
But
try
not for
to
all
thief
the
on this
time. It's
occasion.
a watchman for him.
We know the beast we did it with, so he could try, but that too
Yeah,
would not
that man is
prevail.
a beast in a human form. But you are watching the man face. The man face is looking normal. The man face is only devil. Watch that man face. I'm watching the man face. You put it up. The man face looking black like my long time brother fireside with him black pot on him. And ugly. Ugly. And listen to me. All who follow him going down with him, you know. So,
Of
Mr.
course.
Lennox, I will
Yeah,
talk
of
to you
course.
soon.
The devil
But I
has
won't
his
tell you Happy New Year
disciples.
yet.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay?
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, people. Yes, indeed. Well, I was making the point, and of course, far-flung areas as well felt it. But of course, she focused as well on what I piggybacked upon, which is the previous caller about the sad state of affairs and the paltry nature of the enjoyment and the depressive atmosphere that the Christmas, unlike what we would have been accustomed to in yesteryears, particularly during, as far as what we would have been accustomed to in the period of Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC between 2010 and 2015 would have been the last period where we, of course, experienced what we know to be Christmas. We would have had, for example, the reduction, of course, and the taking off of VAT off of basic items, flour, sugar, etc. And I'm sure that efforts would have been made to, of course, deal with other not so basic, but nonetheless regularly used like cheese and butter and all of that under a Kamla Prasad Bisesa administration and a UNC administration. No such thing. Dr. Rowley hightail away to wherever, and of course his ministers continue, of course, to generate the incompetence that even in situations where it is the total domain of the government to provide, one, the salaries on time for public servants. That has not happened in its entirety. And if one person didn't get, then it is a failure because it means that there is one family that was expecting, of course, to benefit from the monies that he or she earned and deserved, and the government owing, and did not get it. So I don't want to hear, as well, then they will come and talk about the majority or talk about there are those who did not get. I don't want to hear that. No one should want to hear that. Every single person should have gotten it because it was entirely within the hands, the domain, the ability, the authority of the government to deliver that. So there could be no excuse whether some didn't get, and we will come and tell it, well, we agree some didn't get, and make it look as though it's a trivial matter. It is a big thing for the people who did not get. He does not understand that. I saw he went to Tobago and he told Tobagonians, listen, we know we play the fool with the sea bridge. We know that we collapsed the entire thing. We know that the repercussions were that your businesses were in jeopardy and the banks were looking, of course, to foreclose on your loans and to take your hard-earned business that you would have developed and worked, whether by a family business or otherwise. But the fact is that he went there and tell the people in Tobago that while for them is a crisis, it is not a crisis at the government level. You could imagine a prime minister, a man who is, or a woman who is supposed to be, of course, understanding. And when you recognize that you are the cause, your incompetence, your impotent, and still tell the people that why is this a crisis for them, it's not a crisis for the government. You can imagine that. That man is a lunatic. And a lunatic of a very pernicious, wicked, nasty, diabolical, and atrocious nature. How come he end up being head of the PNM and they have foisted that kind of toxicity on the people? But let me get back, of course, to the origin of this discussion with respect, of course, to the paltry nature of the Christmas holidays. Because we must be on the defense of our fellow men and women who would have made investments for the Christmas, expecting that they will get the profits from it so as to assist them not only with Christmas but beyond. And Tong was, of course, a ghost town in terms of people shopping. And when people came out on Boxing Day, I went to Port of Spain. The ghost town scenario continued. Nobody wanted to come out. And it is a double whammy in that regard because whilst, of course, there may be people who risking life and limb to come out and sell. There are those who are saying, not me, let me keep my money in my pocket because, of course, property tax and, of course, light bill and water rate are going to increase, having regard to this government's draconian, evil, wicked, and, of course, toxic as well as punitive. I say punitive conduct. They punish the people for nothing. They punish the people for nothing, so let me keep my money in my pocket. And so, the repercussions all wrong is that those merchants and those, what I consider to be hawkers, and those persons with micro businesses, walking with water, walking, of course, to sell Christmas-type items, whether it be, of course, as Christmas tree lights, etc., not a sale for them. So their children would have suffered the paltry and the emaciated Christmas season. I mean, it is just bizarre. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines as per usual. Pleasant good night. Pleasant good night. Welcome. Pleasant good night. Welcome.
Good night again.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
Yeah.
the man caused his own downfall. And now the dog that he put in can run away and come and bite me. You understand?
Yes,
The
yes.
dog kill him, bite him in the throat, kill him dead. And now the dog on retail now. The dog is a terror dog. The dog have no control. The dog disconnected from the people. That's why you can say that ain't affected at government level. Because it disconnected from the people of the country. Them don't see the hardship they're imposing on the people of this land, especially the ones at the lower end. They don't want everybody to reach up the ladder. Not everybody can go up the ladder. I can't really see you gotta make the road character. That's the porter. The keyboard is There's only one class of people who out, so you're not going to answer them. And I think you go take all the money with him in there and all that enough. You go take it. You go tell, yeah, what you go do? You go tell you why bury with that check. So when he's there, you go cash the check and carry it. Oh, I don't know.
Yes, indeed. And it brings one to generate and to think out of the box because it appears that evil just stalk these people. They are saturated. They are what I consider to be engulfed with evil. They are cursed with evil. And because that scenario I just mentioned before the caller, it doesn't end there. Let's assume that some people got their money and decided to go to town to do a little shopping. They put aside a little change for that. Here was the other problem. Quite a large number of small merchants, people engaged in commerce, and quite apart from the fact that they would have, of course, put things in place maybe 6 months ago in preparation for Christmas. And then 6 months ago, they would have had challenges in terms of getting foreign exchange to purchase the goods that they would have eventually purchased. So the scarcity of foreign exchange is another area to impede, of course, and to, of course, stymie business development. But more than that, now that Christmas is here and they would have gotten through those challenges and their containers are on the port, many of them would not have gotten their containers off the port in time in order, of course, to catch the little Christmas sale that they planned for 6 or 7 months ago. I mean, what is this? And why that was so? Because the government did not put, was not smart enough, was not sensitive enough, or was that stupid, was that dense to not realize that because of Christmas, people, of course, would be much more engaged in, of course, in commercial activities, purchasing and of course, purchasing and selling, and they therefore put more customs workers on the port to, of course, clear those containers. That did not happen, people. So there's a further repercussion. It gets worse, you know. Because when you look at the cumulative impact of that, you are talking about a level of stymiedness, a level of inactivity, a level of inertia, unprecedented at the level of commerce in this country, at the level of business. We ain't talk yet about crime, you know. We ain't reached crime yet. So what has happened there? It means, therefore, those persons who got their goods stuck on the port and missed the Christmas sale for which they had targeted, because, of course, it is seasonal. So those persons who probably didn't get the thing sell for the last Christmas season, and store it somewhere in some warehouse, they were able to bring it out, I'm sure, and put it up for sale, so they didn't have to go through that trauma and that, of course, debilitating circumstance and that anxiety, of course, to whether or not only would they catch the sale and, of course, walk nicely to the bank, but, of course, whether they will spend a Christmas at all in the traditional way, was clearly and would have been in jeopardy. But more than that, those who would have gotten their money from the government in terms of the public servants are now, of course, looking to buy something. They were not able to benefit, of course, from let's say, lower prices because of competition, because the competition that they might have gotten, so they get a discount here and a discount there as they shop around and so on for the best bargains, whether it's to buy maybe a gift or two, or whether it's a tie, whether, of course, is a torchlight, whether it's a camera, whether it's a phone, as the case may be. The fact is that these other people weren't there to compete with them, compete with those who were there, who probably had their goods from last year or got theirs in time. So they make a killing on those persons who just got their salary, their back pay, and make a killing because there was no competition in any significant way. That is the level of dotishness that we have found ourselves in contemporary 2023 Trinidad and Tobago and moving into 2024. Understand? It has repercussions. It's a whole matrix, all of which to the detriment of the consumer, the detriment of the businessman, and except, of course, those who have a monopoly well, then, of course, it's a different story, but certainly the ordinary Joe, where the dollar has to circulate in order to make everybody all right. So let's go further. So in circumstances where the micro businessman who would normally be living, of course, not in middle class circumstance, but just about that or entering that part, but certainly among the working class, but they cannot now provide the kind of support for their children, and of course to fix the home and do a little painting, etc. Buy a ham, buy a turkey, probably buy a stove that was long required, and they intended so to do if they had gotten their container in on time, and they were able, of course, to compete and make, of course, some money in order to purchase that. So in that house as well, it's the same fellas who join gangs and engage in gangsterism, understand the pattern of behavior, understand one thing lead to the next, and the singular, what I consider to be the devilish thread. The common devilish thread is Rowley and his government. Rowley and his government totally incompetent and triggered all of these different pernicious scenarios. Not one instance is looking promising. I heard Singh, the Minister of Health, one of the opposition parliamentarians criticize the situation with respect, of course, to the state of our hospitals. People lying on the floor, there's no beds, etc. So he goes to the hospital and, of course, visiting people who make children and saying that this is the first birth, a birth for Christmas, and the second birth, etc., etc. The usual run-of-the-mill in order, of course, to generate some, what I consider macabre sense of empathy or sympathy. I don't know if, of course, he feels he is Joseph, that he could father all them children without, of course, contributing any sperm. But I don't know, but I'm just saying that it is ridiculous, particularly what he had to say about the opposition, and has the audacity and the temerity to then say that them politicking and it's Christmas. But the man responded by saying that, oh God, it's Christmas. Well, don't say them thing now. The man is such a buffoon, the man is such an ass. By saying that and not, of course, accepting the reality that people are sleeping on the floor, because he didn't say that is not so, you know. But he went on to say that, of course, that less babies are dying as a consequence of normal birth. And he beat his chest for that. But he's such an ass. He's such a fool. At the same time, being quizzed later down the road, you know what I'm trying and say? That the rate of birth in Trinidad and Tobago is falling. Well, if the rate of birth is falling, the ass is saying, and of course, to the extent that people like you and the government and those who are part and parcel of the understanding and the studying the demographics of Trinidad and the Tobago, and of course the future of Trinidad and Tobago, as China has done. China one-child policy has now been removed because they realize that they are having a greater number of aged persons, and that there is a limited amount of young people coming, of course, to take over the jobs and to, of course, manage the continuation of the civilization called China. So they have removed that. He is telling us at the same time that the amount of deaths during birth has been either declined or eliminated, and beating his chest, and then telling us that, of course, the rate of birth has reduced. Well, my common sense will tell me if the rate of birth is reducing to the point where I think it's 17 or close to 20%. It means, therefore, the less birth you would have, the likelihood that the resources that is now available to, of course, bring those children, antenatal and other facilities of the health system that is supposed to provide to our citizens. Common sense will tell you that, yeah, it will be surprising, but of course, with this government, it will not be surprising, but of course, under normal circumstances, it will be surprising that your health system is so bad, that your maternity system is so dysfunctional that of course you would have an increase or a large amount of persons producing stillbirths or persons dying as a consequence of birth, whether it be the mother or the child. So he kicked the can down the road and tell us exactly, inadvertently, so stupid, trying, of course, to promote himself and his worthless and ineffective government, trying to tell us that, listen, he is concerned about the reduction in birth. Well, there you go. That is why, of course, there is less people or less mothers having stillbirths, or that the mortality rate as far as birth is concerned in the hospital has been reduced or has been eliminated, I understand, for 2023. His common sense will tell me that. But he doesn't know that. It's just like Imbert. Imbert tell us, of course, according to the central bank agent, of course, of the government, clearly, Hilaire, the governor of the central bank, has demonstrated that he is merely a stooge for the government, and that is why, of course, that they had to expeditiously get rid of the former governor of the central bank, Rambaran, who, of course, who has taken Imbert and they to court, and the court gave him $6 to $7 million compensation for wrongful dismissal. So the present governor of the central bank say that unemployment and it's a mixed bag. You're not certain, but of course, in Britain they will extract that and say it's 3%, and therefore that is a good thing. But of course, not telling us that when the statisticians are taking those kinds of statistics from wherever they are extracting the raw material from, the people who are no longer looking for work, they're so damn frustrated, they ain't looking for work, is not captured in the statistics. So what that tells me, coming from Imbert and them, is that there's a huge percentage of the population who stop looking for work and whose names and or numbers or that number will not be captured in any statistic, because that is the way that they calculate unemployment. Because when you go down Charlotte Street and you go anywhere in the country, you see people don't have money and they don't have a place of work, and they, of course, are looking for any menial thing to do or any hustle anywhere. And this man, I don't know who he thinks he's talking to. Sometimes I believe that them fellas believe they're only talking to the mic. But what is coming out of it, whether it be through, of course, a TV or a radio and so on, I am sure nobody listens to that. So these fellas are total ghosts, they are total hoax, they are total, of course, phantoms who are simply playing the ass with government and our resources. I thought it was important, of course, to treat that matter before, of course, we go for. So let's hear Eric Williams. Eric Williams talked about democracy, but this fella Rowley has breached every tenet of democracy. And of course, before we go further, of course, as Eric Williams would have said and acknowledged, democracy is government by the people, of the people, and for the people. And therefore, everything you do is in the interest of the people. Rowley and them, everything they do is in their own interest. And then, of course, promote and project a falsehood, a fake, a illusion that somehow they have reason to be where they are. Let's go straight, of course, to the line. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hello, good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
Yes, man, I'm listening to you, and the thing getting hot.
Yes, it's
You
getting hot.
see,
It's getting hot.
you see what going on is, I listened to Rowley in the last media conference he had with the little young Chinese man,
Yes.
and it's like people ain't catch up on the trick here. And I don't know if you listened to that conference
I listened to it
before I
partially.
talk.
I still have to complete, but I've listened. But I think I know enough. Go ahead. Let me hear what you're saying.
Yes. But the way he talk is like you ain't catch up with it. Let me hint you.
Go
What
ahead.
he do is he join up with the Caribbean. You see that thing where he talk about the humanitarian aid? That is how they does operate. Now we don't know what aid they will be given to them, right? When they have to pay for the raw crude, because he said he's going to deal with them to get raw crude. And he ain't tell us where he getting that raw crude refined. So you all must ask him questions like this. If the crude refining in Iran, right? Another thing with this Petro-Caribbean plan is when the partners then have money for certain things, they just be taking up the money and they're lending it to one another. Remember the ground report I will tell you all about is like a Susu bank where the
Yes.
sodas operate. So all the windfall money that we are seeing, they're not distributing things to the people, right? Is there the money that's be going in this mafia? Everybody know is an international mafia, especially here in the region. Experts study the mafia and the brotherhood, and they know all the heads in the brotherhood. One of the big heads, they had a prisoner exchange the other day. I don't know if you know about the 10
Yes,
prisoners the
yes.
gangman friend
Yeah,
released,
yeah, sir, yes,
and
in exchange, sir. Yeah.
the US exchanged these 10 prisoners that he unlawfully had in jail,
Yes.
and they give him Alex Saab,
Sir,
that is
yes,
the
sir,
money
yes.
launderer and con man.
Yes.
Well, the devil come out of hell, so it's trouble for we now, right? Is real corruption going on take place with the deal and the all the different secrets that we wouldn't know in until next 2-3 years when the thing take we had. But all for now, when these people don't have anything, they will be coming to Trinidad for Trinidad to assist them. Like if he have an ATM machine, he take with money, he invest it. We get to know now in the train one. And these is things I was saying in the earlies when I exposed them when Mark Luke one signed, right? When they went across there, it's early o'clock. Mark Luke one signed that deal with them with the train one and the hibiscus platform. Now they're talking about that to us, right? Because they'll be listening to the ground report and they hearing the gas researcher and myself letting out certain things.
Yes.
So they're playing the kind of rubbing in certain things and making it sound like they're getting through. But you, I realize you understand now, is only a set of talk, and sign over this and sign over, and they're reaching nowhere. I know they're reaching a place because America's setting them up right through with that dragon gas deal. So, Lennox, I want to just wish you a happy new year. I hope you enjoy the Christmas, the Boxing Day, the everything. I enjoy mine. So,
Yes.
all the best for the new year, Lennox. Take care.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you very much, and well said, of course. And we always appreciate your very unique knowledge of these matters. and of course you have an advantage over us. You can speak Spanish and understand Spanish, most importantly, and therefore, of course, we rely on you very heavily for, of course, some of the information that may come out of Venezuela that, of course, is in Spanish, and therefore you are able, of course, to convert it to English so that we can make the connection between what is happening there and what we are seeing in Trinidad. So you are very, very, very knowledgeable, and I want to commend you. And of course, I want to reciprocate as well. All the best to you and yours, your family, and indeed, by extension, let me say, all of the listenership, all of Trinidad and Tobago, all of the region, all of the diaspora, and of course, across the globe, because next year will be a long, hot, of course, 12 months as we, of course, unravel the evil, and we continue, of course, to deepen, and the people must now become much more conscientious as to what is possible. Yes, I know that some of you are in a state of enigma. I know that you are in a state of discombobulation. I know that you in a state of flumux. I know that you cannot comprehend that people could think that deep far in order, of course, to steal from us and to raid the treasury of the country. Well, I want to tell you, it is real. It is real. It is a mafia enterprise. It is real. And of course, the Costa Nostra and the other elements of a mafia syndicate clearly is right in our faces. All you have to do is to go down to the Balize house and see what they're billing. It's something like a mall. Where they get the money from? Well, we can only, of course, reiterate to what Rowley would have said in 2015. He said that the PNM is broken. He said that they're owing $4 million, plus, of course, hundreds of thousands in other areas, PTSC, of course, and the CNMG. Today, we know it as, of course, the TTT. All of those money it was owing. How come in 8 years' time, you're now billing something, some say, estimated to be close to, if not more than, $100 million? How come? How come? And of course, when of course he lied during the course of the local government elections at Constantine Park, and of course recognizing that the people are watching, and of course are saying, well, what is that level of profligacy, waste, and of course, and totally condemn them for that level of what I consider to be attempted to gaslight and to hoodwink and to, of course, demonstrate a voluptuous living. They're living it nice, having regard to what we are seeing at Balize House. You know what that man turned and said? That not a company that was employed by the government, talking about those companies that either worked on projects such as the highway to Point Fortin or any one of them across the country, including, of course, the highway to nowhere, that Manzanilla highway to nowhere. We talk about Calco and Amalco and, of course, and Junior Sammy, etc. Well, we brought right here on this program where Junior Sammy's a sub-company, a subsidiary, Jusamco, was pouring concrete on Balize House. We saw it, you saw it. And those of you who didn't, well, of course, we will bring it back again. Jusamco was pouring concrete at Balize House with their concrete truck, and the hose or the device that they use to pour concrete from the truck that will be parked in the road with the concrete on it, and pump it, of course, into Balize grounds, and of course into the foundation. That is important, the foundation. So if the foundation was being, of course, supported by a company, the company that, of course, constructed that part of the highway to Point Fortin, that collapsed, that fell into the swamp below, and we do not know if they had to pay back for it or what. All of that is under secret, of course, and the usual, of course, the non-disclosure clause scenario that they will, of course, dig deep into their pernicious and evil pocket and tell us so that they hide the information from us. But that company was pouring concrete on the basement of Balize House. So if that is the case, I could well imagine. I was responsible from the ground report to be monitoring there, and we saw, of course, red and black colored. Either the office, the site office was, of course, was, of course, painted that way, but no vehicle had any signs on them. You remember when Rowley was very disturbed that a company vehicle that he identified was, of course, doing work on Kamala Prasad Bissasa's compound. Remember that? He sees in others that which is in him, that viper and that evil. And we are going to catch him. The old people have a saying, the longest rope have an end. And Rowley real short. He and Imbert put together, the real short. And the entire cabinet, the real short. So we know that it's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time, people. Let's go straight, of course, to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor. Yes. 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 Yes.
So you have to ask yourself, what was the purpose of that meeting? Right? A man preaching war, but you go get out of there and 3 months, put in the old people, and when they come, carry over and leave you talk peace with that man. Yeah? That man was laugh at me, laugh at all of them, and then they say the next thing is in Brazil. But you see what happened, British warships gone there, right?
Oh, yeah, they're going to Guyana, yes.
What do you think causing that, you know?
Well, because they don't trust Maduro.
Something going on there?
Yes, of course.
So they send 2 warships.
It's only Rowley who repose his trust in that and the Dragon deal. But go ahead. I'll have some comment to make on it later.
That's what that set up.
Yeah. But listen, boy, I'm going to do you a piece of wickedness. I have another person calling on the regular line, and I'll have to deal with that. So you can stay on. Whilst I'm talking to you, I'll talk to them as well.
Go ahead.
Yes, indeed. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Yes, Lennox, good night, calling from Tobago East, man.
Yes, go ahead, Tobago East.
Lennox, you put your finger on a button there, which I want to elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay.
Now, I'll tell you something here. All them set of money in Tobago here, way here, disappear.
Yes.
Nobody never traced dog nothing. But you see now, and you could see without even a glasses that some of the money may have been going towards Balizi house. Right?
Yes.
Watch it good. Watch all them things that take off. Watch me. On the London and them, over $2 billion could not have been accounted by where the Tobago Assembly is concerned.
Yeah, over many years.
No, at no point in time. At no point in time, they never call an inquiry, a forensic audit on the THA. Yes. Right? I will tell you our next thing now. Some years ago, when Robinson was the chief sec, was in charge at Tobago, they had, under Manning, they had made an assertion that Robinson has sold some money in the crushing plant in Scarborough. Right?
Yeah.
They brought a guy from Trinidad from the Auditor General Department who happened to be a brother of mine too.
Yes.
We did and go now, so I could say that.
Right.
To Auditor Ian Robinson. And at the end of the day, they have found nothing wrong with Robinson. Right? By the Auditor General. How come all this other money missing and you have never have a forensic audit? The Auditor General and never find itself in Tobago. So what's really going on in this country, really and truly? Millions of dollars. We hear about $10 million missing from one department alone. And it's every division in Tobago that happened. You see people being mansioned in Tobago. They haven't worked nowhere else but the THA, and they build mansion in Tobago. I know one, several of them. Right? So you see where all the money going to. Right? Let Rowley talk where you want to talk. $50 million was spent here for election. And Tobago, I have nothing now. $50 million he spent in less than 2 months. So you see where the money going. So what we saying, they ain't gonna want to think because they know at the end of the day, people observing them. But the PM is a government that always finding some way at chiggling out money some way, cutting out, carving out, and doing everything to feather the nest. All of them feather in the nest. So we're talking about just Sam and all them. Them get a contract, so they have to pay a kickback. That's how PNM operates. They always have a kickback. They always do everything for kickback. I see plenty of that happening in Tobago here. Plenty. So when you see you talking about it, it is a true fact. Fellas like me and you, they go try to kill me because we talking the truth. You understand? Because PNM in the government like to shut you up, like how they tried to shut up Andy last time. Right? They like to shut you up.
Yeah.
You know a lot about them, eh? So you see, they're going down a road. And the people feel people blind and they have blind thing on them. Because you see a lot of PNM folks and things doesn't have the understanding. And they don't, plenty of them don't read too well, and some of them not really understand education, so they have to go with the flow. You know, Lennox?
Yes, I understand clearly, my friend. You're talking to the converted.
Yeah, they're going. Listen, Lennox, you see me? I live in Lavantil, and I'll tell you exactly why I was living in Lavant. I was living in Maplan. I had 3 children and a woman from Maplan. She living in the States right now. And I go tell you something. And I tell you about that steel tank up there. In them days, I now come and get work in Wassa. And I report that steel tank had a leak and they never fix that steel tank up there. That steel tank still stand up there with a massive hole inside it. Right? They never did nothing for them people in the area. These people vote for nothing all the time. It is so bad up there right now. For years, me ain't go up there. Because of the crime situation, I ain't not going up there for nothing. I go to China. I don't ever go up there. And I have my niece and nephew living up there. I ain't going up there for nothing.
You know, I passed there
People
today.
block up
As
their
you
house
talk
up there.
that, I passed there today, you know. I passed there today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and the place
They're
looking
not...
desolated, looking intimidating. You know, it just looking run down, you know. I mean, it's really,
Yeah.
I get to see that no
you know,
one
I
would
used to be
want
a
to, of
neighbor
course,
to Dr. Hyde up there.
Yeah.
I used to be a neighbor to Dr. Hyde up there, you know. You know, Dr. Hyde used to live on top the hill, eh?
Yes, Dr. Hyde, yes,
I used to be a neighbor to him, so I know him a long time. I know his brothers and all the other brothers who was with me too.
Yeah, everybody just say he has a face only a
and
mother would
everybody
love.
leave up there. I think that house where them had up there, turn abandoned, you know. The last time I see up there, it was abandoned. So people just lock up house up there and just ride out from them places. Nobody want to go live there.
Yeah, they will turn the place into a deserted place, yeah.
You know they cut a road. But when mother black houses up there, that way transport and them is up there. Right? To go down into Chumakak. And down on the other side, the flyover down on the other side. They cut a road there for police and bandits to run up and down. Yeah. So there's this situation. So Lennox, I'm glad you hit the hammer on a nail. So have a good night. I'll listen to you and I want to chat there. Taking in all the different information and all. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, of course, for that exhibition of some unique information that is consistent with what we are saying. Of course, yes. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yes, indeed. Of course, the caller that is on the private phone. Go ahead, make a contribution. Yes. Yes.
But listen to this. You hear the British warship here so fast to the Venezuela. You have Americans only too.
Yes.
How do you think they're looking at this country when we are associated with everybody?
Well, they're looking at us with a cocky eye. You know, a cocky eye here means that that they're looking at us with skepticism. Yeah, double cocky eye. All right, I hear you. Yes. Astigmatism, yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's right. Of course not. Right. Right.
I grew up on the British and American.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I want to go Iran, China. You must remember.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, boy. Yes, my friend. Okay, then have a wonderful one. And thanks for your patience. And all the best to you and your family. Yes, sir, you will do. All right, bye-bye. Yes, people, of course, quite a lot of information emanating from a simple situation where the economy is tinkering on collapse. And of course, let me just conclude before I go back to the video that we have there suspended for about the better part of the program so far. Let me say to you finally, and of course it will fall in the lap of Miss Arima as well, because why would Rowley and Short Chong, his sidekick, tell us that it is of course a Christmas gift, signing that 30-year arrangement with Venezuela for the extraction of the gas that is below the water and therefore in the dragon field on the Venezuelan side. Why? It is another case. Let me postulate. I'm postulating. Let me say affirmatively that it is another attempt to gaslight and to hoodwink and to see us as fools, as asses. It is a program that cannot materialize under 3 to 4 years. But you're giving us a Christmas gift in 2023. You understand the measure of dotishness and, of course, asinine and obtuse and, of course, totally and absolute disconnected with reality. They clearly are at a loss to, of course, justify their existence. That is what has happened. No way could anybody, unless you're mad and, of course, and as dotish as them, to tell me that you went and signed a thing for 10 years, but the benefits of it will come in reality 3 to 4 years down the line, and knowing full well of the volatility and the skepticism and the geopolitics, regional as well as hemispheric, as far as that particular counterpart, the other side of the decision or the signing, Venezuela, and their track record of attempting, of course, to do like Russia, and of course, in modern times, get on like Christopher Columbus and Francis Drake, and they, when of course they go into another man's territory and try to take it by force. By force. And before they shut the blasted trap and leave people's intelligence to, of course, rationalize and to be objective as far as they could and apply common sense, they then, of course, impose their puerile, their infantile, and they of course toddler logic. You ever say? I said toddler logic. These are blasted intellectual toddlers. You cannot tell me that you come here and a thing that is for 30 years, but of course the benefits can only come within 3 to 4 years from now, and you telling me that that is a gift to Trinidad and Tobago. But worse yet, it was Rowley, the Prime Minister, who say that it represents plenty money. It represents a major breakthrough as far as he's concerned. And guess what? I want to take the call because I really want to have this very, very clear. So I don't want anything, of course, to muzzle in one way or another. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
A pleasant good night to you, Lennox Smith, and everybody on the line. Pleasant good night.
Welcome to you.
Hi, Lennox. I ain't want to stay long. I was just waiting to give me a minute and 17 seconds for you to listen, for the whole of Trinidad and Tobago and everybody in the rest of the world to listen to this.
Go ahead, my friend.
These scientists came up with after studying tribes in India and Africa, South America. The smaller tribes didn't have any government, didn't need any. They could sit down and talk out their problems, decide where to plant crops, to hunt. It was just a big family, really. But when the number of people got up around 500, if there wasn't any government, the strongest people would take advantage of the weakest. Every time, without fail, they would slave, rape, steal, enrich their lives at the expense of other people's lives. Government's man's way of trying to control our behavior, but it can't be controlled. That's what we are. Sooner or later, the kind of people that would enrich themselves at your expense use government to do it. And mark my words, one day they'll create laws, control what we say, how we think. They'll outlaw our right to disagree if we let them.
Locked on and listening, Lennox.
All right, explain to us before you go now. All right, I would love that you call back and explain because I didn't get it too clear, but there's something about greed of that nature. So if you can, from time to time, just playing it may not be sufficient. If you could just tell us, well, what you gather from it so that we will be on the right path in terms of the trend of thought, consequential of information such as that. That being as it may, let me just say categorically, let me say it as pellucid as possible. Let me say it as clear as possible. And that is, Rowley said that Dragon gas deal, 30 years one way, 2 years and another, is not an extension to say, but a separate license that was given to Trinidad to, of course, evade or suspend the sanctions on Venezuela under certain conditions. But Rowley said it represents a huge amount of money, and of course, he is whipped up. He is most enthusiastic. He is, of course, excited. He is anxious. He is in a state of what I consider to be effervescence, bubbling with optimism and so on. I want to tell you that all of that is to excite to the point of nothingness. The man will not stop. The man has, of course, developed a personality and a character that is, to you and I know, ad nauseum. It's sickening. How the hell you could tell us that it represents serious money, and on the one hand, Young telling us that, of course, is a Christmas present. And when you had a Christmas present right in your hands, right in your influence, all you had to say, if it represents so much money, then say you no longer will be pursuing property tax. Rowley, your damn ass. Say you're not pursuing property tax, you're not pursuing increase in electricity, you're not pursuing increase in water rate. That is what you should say, and therefore we will appreciate that it is a Christmas gift. But to say that, of course, a project that will at minimum begin in 3 to 4 years' time, and of course lasting 30 years as far as the Venezuelans are concerned. And even in that scenario, there is uncertainty galore because, of course, suppose once, of course, they sign a deal for 30 years with Venezuela, and Venezuela will decide, of course, to keep their side of the bargain. But the Americans say, listen, after 2 or the 4 years that they gave them the license, Trinidad and Tobago, and it's not working out, they said they return to square one, meaning that they return, of course, to sanctioning Venezuela. What the hell happens? What the hell happens? These fellas must be tried for treason. They cannot be so damn dunce. They cannot be so damn inane. They cannot be so damn obtuse. They cannot be so damn dunderheaded that, of course, they will come and among themselves smiling and, of course, projecting that as if it's some big deal, when in fact it is, of course, poison ivy. Poison ivy. Poison ivy. Where tell me about is plenty money. We saw what you do with plenty money. You met 5 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund, 10 in reserves, and what you did, you deplete them. And it matters not to whether or not based on the way how the Heritage and Stabilization Fund is invested, that they will get dividend, they will get, of course, interest, they will get their return on investment. The fact of the matter is that the monies that were taken out of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund will not return, and therefore the Heritage and Stabilization Fund ought to have more money than is current. And moving forward, even if it is increased, you must be able to say where that money that you took out has gone, or that you have put it back. If you did not put it back, it means that therefore the Heritage and Stabilization Fund cannot be, in real terms, the amount of money that is supposed to be there. It is supposed to be what is there plus what the bloody hell you took out. You damn fools. Damn fools. So people, let us not get fooled with these platitudinous distractions that has no basis in reality, and that they feel that they could continue to hoodwink and fool people. It was Imber who told us that the country was running on fumes, you know. Today they ain't talking that. It was Rowley who told us that he could do more with less, you know. He ain't talking that. But he has borrowed to the point where it has come ridiculous. We have a debt to GDP now of over 90% and heading towards 100%. That is what they have done to us. And in case you believe that somehow what the hogwash Rowley and them spoke, the diatribe that they spoke, the tangential deflection that they try, of course, to justify the spending of over $200 million on Train 1. Let me tell you this. There would have been no need to spend that money there, because that money spending had no impact on the requests that would normally be made by any government. Is either they agree or not to, of course, have a share in Train 2 and Train 3. So keeping that, spending 200 million is null and void and of no effect. What they did, it was close to an election, and they use it, of course, for campaigning. They use it, of course, as a slush fund to, of course, funded their campaign, a pernicious campaign in 2020 in particular, where, of course, the stakes are higher than in a local government elections. Understand that? And therefore, that is another cog in the multiple issues that must be criminally investigated in order to bring to justice the entire cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, led by this viper, a political kobo, a king kobo of the highest order that, of course, one has ever contemplated and or could contemplate in a society, a democracy such as Trinidad and Tobago. Let's go straight, of course, to the founding father and hear what he has to say. It was Eric Willem. This man, I'm sure Eric Willem turned in the grave. I'm sure that, of course, his compatriot Manning turning in his grave, and I'm sure as well that, of course, Chambers turning in the grave too, to see what the PNM has come to, a total and absolute criminal enterprise under a criminal of a multiple nature. I say multiple nature because he's a blasted rapist and a pedophile as well, in addition, of course, to a conman, and, of course, one that clearly have no respect for the people of Trinidad and Tobago and the sanctity and the purpose and objective of the central bank to, of course, manage the affairs of the country in the best interest, inclusive of the lowest rung of the socio-economic ladder in this country, simply because they are born Trinbagonians and they therefore are entitled just as Rowley, and they don't get pay. They want more than the fair share. Well, of course, they will get the more than the fair share when, of course, Blue Lights and Silver Bracelets visit them in the not too distant future. Is only a year again, people. Have faith. Let's hear Eric Williams on the democracy, and we will go right through the clip to show where Rowley has breached that democracy, that, of course, even though, of course, Eric Williams could be accused of the same act, but the fact of the matter is that he said that, and we need, of course, to understand the principle. At least in 1962, he would have been sincere because he would have been anxious, and he wants, of course, to help Trinidad. But when they see the eye open big, when they see the power they have to, of course, manipulate the treasury of the country and, of course, recruit a criminal enterprise. Recruit a criminal enterprise. Power intoxicates and make men giddy. And, of course, power corrupts and make men, where there is absolute power, it makes them absolutely corrupt. And that is Rowley and his bunch.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. Anybody telling the population that this PNM coming into office will...
Yes, indeed. Democracy, you can't lie to the people and get away with it.
This PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty. So for anybody in the government now to be telling the population that this PNM coming into office will bring back that tax is the highest level of dishonesty.
First and foremost, if you don't have property, then you have no tax to pay. If you are a tenant, I think landlords would still prize their tenants. Tenants are hard to get at. And I think the average landlord would not want to drive his tenant out by increasing his rent because of property tax.
Speaking during the national budget presentation in Parliament, Imbert said he
You see, Rowley didn't take his pills, he madman pills. How you mean landlords, when they get the bill for property tax, they wouldn't raise the rent? You know, it's the same thing they told us when they moved subsidy about the taxi drivers, and everybody across the country raised their transportation fare. But he come back with that again. You know, it's a hit in one clout. If you in my class, I feel that I would have been driven to hit only one clout for his hard-headedness and his stupidity. You're doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You ain't putting in nothing to, of course, deviate from your position. So when you raise gas, you say that you don't expect the taxi drivers to raise the fare, and they raise the fare. Now you're saying that when, of course, you implement property tax, you don't expect the landlords to raise their rent. What kind of madness, what kind of ass we have running our country? And then he has the audacity and the temerity from time to time to tell us that he knows Trinidadians well. So on this occasion, he don't know them because he wants to have his evil way. He wants to have his evil way. And that's why the man is totally toxic and septic. Stink with stupidity and, of course, self-serving, aggrandizement, and, of course, hoodwinking and deception.
Received the residential property valuation roll, which will be sent to the Inland Revenue Division, which will set the procedural framework for the collection of residential property tax. Imbert said the property tax calculation is based on the annual rental value. The Board of Inland Revenue will calculate the property taxes based on the annual rental values, discounted by 10% or with an application of 3% of the discounted ARV. For example, with an annual rental value of $24,000, the property tax will be $54 per month. For larger properties with an ARV of $120,000, the property tax would be $3,000 per annum or $250 per month.
The Finance Minister Colm Imbert confirmed at Tuesday's Senate debate that the property tax becomes applicable on January 1st, 2024.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
Yes, indeed. Let's go straight to the lines. Pleasant good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Hey, brother Lennox. Merry belated Christmas and soon to come New Year.
Yeah, same to you, my friend.
You know, this stupid man we on TV, but you know, I don't like to say I hate human being, but you me and like the best bone in both. Rowley and me, but you see him both, but anytime I see here, I just feel to lick down with TV. I don't know what on earth, and you know what, man? If Maraval and all them places go back and vote for that man again, I don't know what has been them people mind to go and vote for this man. I want to that you know, he read for the 8 years, he read disrespect the people of this country. You know.
It's torture. And with
Well,
impunity, he feels.
I telling you, if once next administration come in, I want to see them fellas with blue lights and handcuffs on. Anytime I see next administration coming, and me see them fellas with hand no blue lights and no handcuffs, and 10 and 12 years to put it on the dead and who dead who fly. But watch me, I know this country sinking, bad. Somebody had to put them and make them an example. Later.
Yes, my friend. That's my friend. I could almost assure you, they have been so blatant in their theft, in their and arrogant in their quest to, of course, deprive the working class, the poor man, that it is almost impossible for the entire cabinet not to be held accountable criminally and, of course, civilly for their conduct. They can't hide. It's them who of course, pursued proceeds of crime, but they is always for somebody else, not them. The hole they dig, they're certainly going to fall in it. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first set out to deceive. Them fellas and them are going to, of course, feel the wrath of the people under the system, because they believe it can only work for them and to prosper them and of course deprive the rest of us. As you see there in the video, that was when, of course, they started. Well, I want to show you where the red arrows are. You'll see them, of course, animated. Well, they even went and take piece of Tranquility School that is on the southern border of the car park of Balize grounds, where the Balize monstrosity, that structure of steel, concrete, iron, etc., is being constructed. They take piece of the school, and that is the democracy Eric Williams was saying cannot work, must not work, and this is arbitrary actions of government. That is what he was referring to. You cannot believe you are law unto yourself, and then the people will work for you, as in the case of the education facilities company. Remember that? And about 20 or so companies, small companies, went to court. They presented documents. The court said that the government has to pay. And of course, Rowley decide to wind up the company, so he will not pay them. You understand why nobody wants to come outside of the oil and gas and petrochemical area to invest in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is why we have had a drying up of course, a direct private and or conglomerate investment in Trinidad and Tobago, and thus, of course, the further emasculation and of course, contracting of the economy and, of course, unemployment. Understand that, and therefore our quality of life and standard of living. That man had the audacity to, of course, sell that pipe dream and telling us that our quality of life and standard of living that we have grown accustomed to. He's so damn stupid. What we have grown accustomed to. We have grown accustomed to what he has implemented, which, of course, is pain, agony, drudgery, and, of course, lack and deprivation. That's what we have grown accustomed to. He couldn't be talking about what we experienced under Kamala Prasad Bissessa between 2010 and 2015 under the UNC. He couldn't be. But he's so stupid. The Lord moves in mysterious ways as wonders to perform. And of course, as the Greek would say, when the Lord or when the gods wish to destroy you, the first time you're mad and they start to talk partially truth and of course talk in a way that, of course, their tongue get entangled and they begin, of course, to talk all kind of hogwash, some of which is articulated, some, of course, is articulate, of course, some is mysterious, some is discombobulating, some, of course, is, of course, totally out of this world. And most phantasmagorical stories that you will ever hear is from these fellas. Imagine that signing ceremony is for Trinidad and Tobago Christmas. But Stuart Young, one blasted clout. If I catch you on Prince Street, one clout. Look at them. Take over Tranquility School. Yeah, that's what they have done. That area, you see the two red flags. That is the wall of Tranquility.
The fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal. The fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal.
To reduce the multi-billion-dollar fuel subsidy, I propose to increase the price of super gasoline by just 15%. raised the price of fuel by 15%. I then realized that was not enough. I came back again and I raised it again by 15%. And I came back again, raised it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet.
Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
What's the PNM's policy going forward on the fuel subsidy?
The fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal. In the immediate term, it's not on the cards. In the immediate term, it's not on the cards. The fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal. The fuel subsidy is not targeted for removal.
I raised the price of fuel by 15%. I then realized that was not enough. I came back again and I raised it again by 15%. And I came back again, raised it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. So I might raise it by another 15%. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted yet. They haven't rioted yet.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
Local government elections should have been held by March this year. Local government elections should have been held by March this year. The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. The effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year.
We have argued that there's a fundamental breach of our democracy. Here it is, Eric Williams talked that in 1962 at our first independence, and here it is, the Privy Council has to now come back under a Rowley administration. A bunch of not only cowards, but a bunch of hypocrites and a bunch of course, persons who are prepared to undermine the rule of law and, of course, subvert our democracy. And the Privy Council has now to come and correct that. And he continues, of course, in the same vein, because notice, he didn't even want to bring independent observers in the local government elections. Well, I'm going to tell him, his ass is grass in the next elections. That electoral fraud and thief in more ways than one. Eric Williams says, we must protect ourselves from arbitrary action of the government. That's what he said. We must not become complacent. We must be vigilant, because vigilancy is, of course, a cornerstone and a responsibility of the citizens to be eternally vigilant in order to protect, defend, and promote our democracy. That is in essence what the Privy Council said. And this man goes to Parliament, he Rowley, and still trying, of course, to be as recalcitrant as possible. So you understand that is a fella. He has to be totally exposed to what I consider to be flagellity. He must be beaten into understanding that level of conmanship and that level of dictatorial and autocratic tendency, believing that somehow he could survive and at the same time engage in those anti-democratic conduct and still, of course, stay as prime minister and head of our government and have a government at all. He has to be mad, and he has to be criminally mad. In other words, criminally insane.
I want to make it abundantly clear that the government has no choice but to accept the ruling of the Privy Council.
Accept it.
The first response.
But he went on to tell us that they did not, of course, breach the Constitution. Listen to Eric Williams and you sycophants and no Olivex, but eat your heart out. The fact is that is all you. That is where Rowley, or put another way, it's because of him. Rowley is where he is. And abusing all you. And all you don't understand it yet. Continue in denial. And see what, not me. And of course, those thousands and millions across the globe that understands what this level of undermining and of course a betrayal is, and the unhealthiness and state of our democracy at this stage with a fella like that, a total predator in more ways than one.
The responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy.
The election of representatives for a fixed or maximum period is the foundation on which a democratic society is built. If the relevant amendments were to apply to incumbent representatives, the effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year. The effect would be that the government, rather than the electorate, had chosen those representatives for another year.
I want to make it abundantly clear that the government has no choice but to accept the ruling of the Privy Council.
The first responsibility that devolves upon you is the protection and promotion of your democracy. Democracy means more, much more, than the right to vote, and one vote for every man and every woman of the prescribed age. Democracy means responsibility of the government to its citizens, the protection of the citizens from the exercise of arbitrary power and the violation of human freedom and individual rights.
The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. The dreaded property tax. Anybody telling the population
and I want plastic glass in case it fall out my hand. Oh my Lord, yes. Buenos dias, amigo. I mean, how are you? Compliments of the season to you. May all your dreams come true. But right now, this is what I want you to do. Bring it rum, come it's Christmas. Bring it rum, come I see. We could drink a flask, we could drink a nip. If you have a bottle hiding, bring it out today. Oh, mama me, my yo.
Well, people, of course, we have come to the end. It's 30 minutes past. I've given you back the minutes that you lost. Let me put it that way, or I took. So therefore, we have compensated each other, and therefore the set-off is in order. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Don't forget that tomorrow morning, the ground report, Andy, Mike, and myself. Yes, I will be there because I've concluded what I wanted to do today. I want to thank, of course, Andy and Mikey for, of course, giving me the opportunity to complete. It was a legal matter that I had to pay attention to. So tomorrow, of course, we will try to see if we can look at some solutions that, of course, are what I consider homegrown, domestic, indigenous to the community, and of course far exceeds anything that the government could come up with, especially this government. A total collapse, a total antithesis to what is government and governance, and certainly a promoter of corruption, nepotism, cronyism, as we move inexorably to 2024. Moving, of course, since that will be the penultimate, moving towards, of course, 2025, when, of course, decision day will inevitably come. Have a wonderful rest of the night. God bless, and of course, listen to Spangalang.
The black cake sauce, the sorrel ripe, the gingerbread green, what it is? But it's a dog show. Beside Levy and complain, eh? Bring anything, we drinking flick and all. Yes, we just want something to control the stomach till we reach home, because this thing will make we large intestines look small. Yeah, well, we are departing, and thanks we say to you. They can't come done, and we have to run. Two ways the Lord give we one holy road. In the ram-pam is Christmas, in the ram-pam I see. We go drink a flask, we go drink a nip. If you have a bottle hiding, bring it out today. Oh, mommy, my yo, why viva, viva, yo. Keno karuwa, kya pring, karasio, baba vida o, lila, cinnamon. A green fish pie made from breadfruit. Neighbor, where you get your recipe? In one of your children's copybook. It really tasted like the 6 times table. Hey, pass a glass, pass a glass. So besides don't bring no glass now, I will drink straight from the bowl. Somebody bring a glass. Don't bring a place with it. Madre, no, Madre, you can't eat everything. Sometimes people may get hungry later. Oh my Lord.
This pretty little girl from Venezuela, everybody calling her Nikita, brought me an invitation letter to spend the Christmas Venezuela. I said, Nikita, girl, you're crazy. December month, you just can't get me. I always make it my duty to make my country people happy. I'm a Barlopino by Willa in Sando, Rose in Arima, Garage